hapa sikufiki nafanya. Ndio. Yes. Hapa kufiki.
Acceptable to you and into this world. We thank you and magnify your name, for we pray in Jesus' mighty name. Amen. Thank you. Sit down. As we sit down, I want to invite our CEO to give us a word of welcome and also introduce all the guests that are here. Welcome, Dr. Victor John.
Our chief guest, CS, ICT, Innovation and Youth Affairs, Mr. Joe Mushero, Chair of the Board of Directors of KUTRH, Professor Olive Mugenda, members of the hospital board, members of hospital management, invited guests, members of staff, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Good morning once again. Asante. I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome our chief guest, the board of directors, and all our invited guests to this occasion as we officially launch the KUTRH Medical Innovation and Accelerator Hub. Our chief guests, kindly allow me to acknowledge the following visitors and participants. I'd like to acknowledge our chair of the board of directors, Professor Olive Mugenda. I'd like to acknowledge our board members, Mr. Kivinji Kiragu, okay, Mr. Munyoki from the university, Dr. Alfred Karagu, and I'd also like to acknowledge Professor Kiama from the University of Nairobi. Thank you. Professor Hiram Deritu. Okay, I was forgetting one board member, Mr. Victor Momani. Professor Hiram Deritu. Asante. Dr. Henry Rotich, Director of Metrology. Yes. Thank you. Dr. Mudhoni Tonjira from CEO Philips. Dr. Mariam Gadogo, BOC Kenya. Mr. James Masitsa and Mr. Cliff Oso from Mindre. Mr. Anthony Dinga from Laborex. And from QET Limited, Prince Munene, Alex Mbaka, Hilda Karimi, and Christine McKenna. Asanteni sana. Mrs. Beatrice Odual from Robisearch. And from the clinical area, Mr. Paul Mwove from Mathare Hospital. And from representing Nairobi Hospital, Mr. Samson Mwangi, representing the CEO of Nairobi Hospital. Asante sana. As a hospital, KUTRH, we have three main mandates. The first mandate is clinical excellence, and we have strived very much to achieve that. As a facility, we have 650 bed capacity. We take care of COVID patients, we take care of all other non-clinical cases. And Chief Guest, you can recall that barely 4 days ago, we launched our Center for Specialized Clinics, where we want to introduce other services. We had a plan for operationalizing the hospital. As you realize, our chief guest, we are barely 1 year in operations. And the plan was initially to fill in the first 160 beds, and then we move on to fill the full capacity of 650 beds. Of course, we all know that the COVID epidemic came and affected a lot of operations in the country, and therefore we had to shift a bit and focus on the COVID situation in the country. And as an institution, we have played a key role in managing COVID pandemic in the country. So as from last week or last 2 weeks, we had to start the other operations, move on to phase 2 of the operations, and therefore we had started our specialized clinics. And our chief guest, I can assure you that now we already have specialists handling many other aspects of clinical care, in addition to the oncology services which we continue to offer. So ladies and gentlemen, every single Kenyan deserves the highest attainable standard of health. Healthcare that is not only timely, but also evidence-based. KUTRH acknowledges the fact that such evidence-based, patient-centered care can only be attained through cutting-edge innovations. Today, therefore, marks a momentous occasion as we launch the Medical Innovation Accelerator Hub under the Directorate of Research, Innovation, and Entrepreneurship. It is in a bid to achieve the mandate of delivering premier healthcare services that KUTRH has started the Medical Innovation and Accelerator Hub to drive innovation and entrepreneurship in the area of medical diagnostics, therapeutics, devices, equipment, and medical services. The hub will provide a transformative program that will enable spotting good ideas and innovations in the medical field, to evaluate them, admitting and providing a quality support ecosystem for the incubatees, and accelerating the whole innovation process from viable ideas to impactful products and services. The accelerator aspect of such products and services is meant to ensure that they are an income-generating avenue for the incubatees as well as the hospital. All this will be done for the transformation of the healthcare sector in Kenya and the whole region. Ladies and gentlemen, the hub shall operate on a patient-centric research model that shall support basic research and clinical trials that will lead to medical innovations. The research and innovation remain in the DNA and architecture of KUTRH, and today marks just one milestone in the plans set in place regarding research and entrepreneurship. The work has just begun with the launch today, and we now want to move on to build the infrastructure to support research, innovation, and entrepreneurship. Our dream is to continue serving Kenyans by offering world-class, evidence-based healthcare interventions to them. Our chief guest, now kindly allow me to invite the Director of Research and Innovations, a renowned innovator in his own right, to make some brief remarks. Karibu Dr. George Njoroge.
Thank you. Thank you, our CEO. This is working. Thank you, our CEO, our chief guest, ICT, CS Honorable Bill Mushero, our KUTRH chairperson, chairperson to the board, Professor Ori Mogenda, distinguished guests, and all my KUTRH colleagues. Now, this is a great day for all of us as we witness this launching of our Medical Innovation and Accelerator Hub, a hub that will incubate high-value innovators in Kenya and beyond. What I would like to start with is to say that we are living in a very exciting time in the history of mankind, when great advances in science and technology have been made. Just to mention a few of them, the sequencing of human genome, which was done in the 80s by Craig Venter and his colleagues. They sequenced about 30,000 genes from chromosomes, and those have had about 3 billion base pairs. Information that was obtained from those genes, from those base pairs, will allow us in the medical area to come up with new medicines for diseases. And using what we call now the big data and artificial intelligence, we are now capable of getting our big dreams out there and getting big technological breakthroughs come through. So what we need, as I tell my colleagues, are these big dreams. And I can mention a few things that have happened in the world, just to show some of those possibilities that can happen. In January of 1976, a scientist by the name of Herbert Hoyer had written a paper on recombinant bacteria, a work that was received very well. And one day he received a call from a young venture capitalist called Robert Swanson, who was interested in that discovery. Swanson offered Herbert $500 to take that invention. They both made an agreement. And from that agreement, a company was created. And that company today is called Genentech. And Genentech is the one that invented the drug Herceptin. Our physician here will know it as trastuzumab. That's a drug for breast cancer. And they also came up with the drug Avastin, also for cancer. Those two drugs generated about greater than $500 billion. And it was from that invention of Dr. Herbert Hoyer. Now, just to come a little bit closer to where we are, similarly, and our CS will relate to this, a similar story was true for a student called Larry Page, and a graduate student at Stanford University in California, who in 1995 was looking for a place to do his graduate studies at Stanford and met this guy, Sergey Brin. They together talked a little bit, and they both put together a company to organize world information and make it universally accessible and useful. This culminated the formation of Google, and which caught the attention of a Silicon Valley investor, son, who wrote a check for them for $100,000. Today, Google is a $1 trillion company, not shillings, $1 trillion company. So the point I'm trying to make is that it can be done. It has been done somewhere, and it can be done here. I'm familiar with these stories because I've worked with various companies in the US, came up with invented a drug that was sold for over $1 billion. And that's why I truly believe here in Kenya, we have the brains and what it takes to come with these breakthroughs. We need just to put ourselves into this in the areas of diagnostic, in the areas of the therapeutics, in the areas of devices, so that we can come up with what we call, with the technologies, disruptive technologies, things that will take us a notch higher. And that is what we are confident that we can do it here when we can incubate those innovators who have ideas, give them some seed money, and allow them to get to the next level where they can come with medical innovations that would be commercialized. And that would be useful not only for Kenya, the region, and the rest of the world. So our guest speaker, our guest CS, Kutrrh, I really am very, very happy because I know you're an innovator, and I'm happy you've come to grace this occasion, and God will bless it and we will go very far. Thank you very much.
Our chief guest, Kutrrh, is encouraging innovation from practicing health providers. And this is not just for healthcare providers and clinical staff from our facility. We welcome collaborations with even other healthcare providers in all other hospitals within and without our country. So kindly allow me to invite one of our pre-launch incubatees, Dr. Jeremy Gitau, to give us a few words. Thank you.
Our chief guest, Cabinet Secretary John Mushero, Chair of the Board, Professor Oli, our CEO, Dr. Victor, board members, hospital management team, staff, and our guests. Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Jeremy Gitau. I'm an emergency care specialist working here in the hospital. For me, this is a great opportunity to be one of the incubatees. It's an idea that we developed while we're still working here, when we realized there was a gap, especially now in the era of COVID-19. We've seen how it's become very difficult for patients to access hospitals. And our idea came up as a medical logistics company, where our idea is to actually be the connection between the patient who is at home and the hospital that is now Kutrrh. So we're able to assist the patient when they're at home, and we're able to bring them either medication, take their lab tests, and that way we are able to bring the care to the patient, encouraging what has been the core business of the hospital, which is the patient-centered services. So as medical logistics, that's what we intend to do, and we are happy to be given the opportunity to incubate the idea, and we are looking forward to even working with the Ministry of ICT, where we know they recently launched the postal addresses for all Kenyans, so it will be very easy even for us to access patients who are far away, meaning that our services will not only be located in one area, you can actually reach people at the comfort of their homes. So asante sana for the opportunity, and we are grateful to the hospital for actually setting up this, because I know there are many young people out there who would like to innovate, but they don't have a space. And I'm glad I was chosen to be among them. Asante sana.
Waziri, innovators require support from various different sectors. It straddles banking, insurance, intellectual property rights, legal, among others. Allow me to invite two experts to give their brief remarks. I'll start with Mr. Cliff Oso from Mindray, Kenya.
Our guest of honor, Honorable C.S. Joe Michero, the CEO, Kutrrh, Dr. Victor, doctors and other staff present, other invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name is Cliff Oso, and I am honored to be with you here today on this very important occasion to present Mindray Medical. Here with me from Mindray is Engineer James Masisa. I was introduced before. And I would like to say that Mindray is a fully fledged office. And Others are within the country doing what they love to do best, giving solutions to institutions like KU TRRH. Miah Medical has been partnering with the KU TRRH since its inception, and we are still working together to make sure we realize the goals that we have in mind when we agree to work together. Theodore Levitt, a renowned economist, said, "Creativity is thinking up new things. Innovation is doing new things." I think it's a good time that we gather together to think on how we can make what has been brought as a new thing in our midst, so that we make sure that we do it together, that tomorrow we'll see the fruit. We as Miah believe in growing together, and our primary goal is to make sure the solutions we give are geared towards better healthcare for all. Therefore, we empower healthcare institutions so as to ease healthcare delivery, including diagnostics, surgical, critical care, emergency, and general healthcare in medical institutions such as KU TRRH. Miah believes that doctors and nurses should invest their time in ensuring patients under their care get well and healthy fast. This can only happen when these frontline healthcare workers are well trained to be able to operate the deployed equipment with ease. For example, they should be well trained to understand how to operate ventilators appropriately to save lives. When I first visited this hospital, most of the rooms were empty with no equipment. But with the continuous improvements and investment, the correct equipment, investing in correct equipment, it has reached where it is now, and this is a commendable effort on the part of the hospital. We as Miah, we continue supporting KU TRRH where we can. We are here with you, and we are in together. Miah is available and will always be available to continue partnering with KU TRRH to achieve its objectives. This is not the time to stand by the fence and look at what is happening, but to roll our sleeves and search for a better tomorrow. The best way to predict the future is to create it. This was said by Alan Kay, a computer scientist. Let's create the future together now. Otherwise, thank you, ABO KU management team. Thank you, honorable guests. Thank you all.
Very much, Patrick. Guest, I want to pick up Mr. Engineer Benson Karaoke, an expert in intellectual property rights and commercialization, to give his brief remarks.
Chief guest, Chair of the board of KU TRRH, CEO KU TRRH, or invited guests, good morning. My name, as you have been told, is BK Kariuki. I'm a senior lecturer in the Department of Mechanical Engineering at Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology, and I'm also the Director of Intellectual Property Management at the same university. Within the short time I have been given, I want to relate intellectual property with innovation. I'll do that very briefly, and I want to first of all define innovation in the terms that I know are simple. Innovation is the transformation. I want you to take this. Innovation is the transformation of an idea or an invention into a tradable product or service, or into a new manufacturing or distribution process, or into a new way of providing a service. That is the simplest way I've found to define. You'll not find it so much in so many other places, but I know if you take that one, maybe you wait for 1 year, you actually, you take it to the bank, you actually see it is the truth. It's the truth. Innovation is not about maybe invention or science or technology. It's about application of knowledge. Knowledge which is acquired through the learning process. All the way from kindergarten, let nobody cheat you that knowledge that is important is the only one that is acquired at the university. Because that's why you have gone wrong. Is about knowledge which is acquired through the learning process, all the way from kindergarten. So a kindergarten fellow has some new knowledge which they can use their brains to do something. It can be picked by somebody who has got bigger knowledge to actually grow it, and so on and so on. So by the time you reach to a professor, that thing will be a big thing. And that is one of the things that sometimes in this country we are missed. And that is one thing that we should get if we really want to get our country into the right path. It is also maybe knowledge that is acquired through research or experience, or when you are like me, from patent information search. Most of the things that you see which are problematic in the world today, they must have happened sometimes back. Somewhere they must have occurred. And somebody actually did research, and they put the documentation together, and then they put somewhere in a database. And you can retrieve that information and use it to actually solve your problems. That is one thing, again, we don't do in this part of the world. You will find it today being done in places like Korea, Japan, and those other places. Why do we need to innovate? We need to innovate because their challenges are coming in. All the time we have got challenges. Like now in the area of medicine, anything to do with the area is struggling with issues to do with cancer, malaria, diabetes, COVID, and other NCDs. And it is estimated that maybe it's forecast that in 2030, about 75% deaths will come from NCDs alone. So there is need for people to sit down and actually get working to actually ensure that we have got treatment for those things. I've said innovation has to do with the transformation of an idea or an invention. Where do ideas or inventions come about? How do they come about? About the mind. The other day I asked a student, what do you understand by the word intellect? And then they went round and round. Something simple is about the mind. It's about the mind. So if you remove something, if something arises from the mind, it is called intellectual property. It is called intellectual property. It's arising from the mind. Simple. It's not a lot of stories about whatever. And you can get rights for whatever you have brought out from your mind. So every time you hear intellectual property, the first thing you should think of is the mind. The mind. And there's so many opportunities or so many things that you can bring out from the mind to solve problems in the societies, create industry, and all other things so that the people we are educating can get jobs, and also we can create wealth. So it is driven, the thinking, because it's a question of thinking, it's a function of thinking. Intellectual property is a function of thinking. It is driven by new knowledge. And that is the new knowledge all the way from kindergarten all the way to upwards. Desire to solve problems, investigation, research, tapping ideas from customers, imagination, exposure, inspiration, and curiosity. And we cannot say that we don't have these things in place. And why do we keep, then you ask yourself, why do we keep on driving other people's vehicles, flying other people's airplanes, and whatever? We have got that, but maybe we have not packaged that knowledge in a manner that it can be consumed by industry or the society can do that. And that is what is done using an intellectual property system. An intellectual property system, when you do research, in most cases we package our results in form of publish in a journal. But there is another avenue where you publish through intellectual property system, where you try properly what you have actually come up with and what you think is yours. What do you claim out of this? And I think Dr. Jaroga is very much aware of this. He has got a number of patents. I've been following him very closely in social media, and I know he has produced patents and things like that. So if a country does not actually engage, you do not engage your people in thinking, driven by all what I have said, and producing intellectual property, acquiring intellectual property rights, then you have nothing to commercialize, and chances are that your country will be poor and for a very long time. If you look at countries like Korea, Japan, China, or everybody else, all what they got right is the word intellectual property. And every time they keep on ensuring that. That is what, including their curriculum, it goes into their curriculum. Very few have got an intellectual property management mechanism. In Kenya, I think, out of the 70 universities in Kenya, both private and public, only 3 universities, I think, have got a properly or an elaborate intellectual property management system, and that is JQuat, that is Strathmore, and that is University of Nairobi. KU used to be there, but I think they have gone down a little bit. I don't know what happened, and their office has not been really functional. You know all that because we are in that field. Now, if you want to manage intellectual property, there are tools that you have to use amongst two. You need an intellectual property policy, which will define clearly the owner of the intellectual property, how the intellectual property will be maintained, and the incentive to the inventors and innovators. They have to come out very clearly. Then the other thing you need are standard operating procedures. About a minimum of 4, one to actually guide on disclosure of invention, another one to guide on intellectual property rights acquisition, because acquisition of intellectual property rights you have to link with the national IP granting agencies like KIPI, KECOPO, KEFIS, and so on. So you need about 4, and then you need another procedure for commercialization of intellectual property. That is where you have missed it. People have got intellectual property. It's not commercialized. You are not seeing it in the supermarket. You are not seeing it in form of a piece of cloth, not in form of a car, not in form of a machine, and all those kind of things. You need to get it right. And so for KU here at IH, the innovation hub you are coming with, you would have to formulate an IP policy. If you don't have that one, then you will be in a lot of difficulties as you try to carry out your innovation. And right now, NACOST is actually, has come up with a guideline of how intellectual properties policies should be done, and you get a link with them, you can link with them. Then the infrastructure that is required, you need IP office with a liaison function to link with IP rights granting agencies and the society in large. Then you need a function of actually scanning through all the intellectual property, all the patents which have been done since the intellectual property systems were created, and then you get information from them. Then you need competent staff. You need about maybe a minimum of 4 or things like that, if you really want to get it right. I think I will end it at that point. My time is up. When I get time some other time, we will engage. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Engineer Kariuki. You spoke like a real lecturer. You started by definitions. And we'll take you up on your offer, and we'll definitely reach out to you to tap into your knowledge into this whole area of intellectual property rights. And I'd also like to say that probably we also be told to have an intellectual property hub, and called an innovation hub in the country. And we hope to actually move forward with this. I'd like to recognize the Miah from Varia. It's been very instrumental in supplying us with a Varian machine for the LINAC machine, linear accelerator, for treatment of cancers. At this point, I'd like to invite Mr. Benson Muthendi, the CEO of National Youth Enterprise Development Fund, to give his very brief remarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our chief guest, Mr. Joe Mushero, CS for ICT, Innovation and Youth Affairs, where the Youth Enterprise Development Fund is domiciled. Chair of the board, Professor Oliver Mugenda, CEO, Dr. Victor Njom, members of the board, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. The Youth Enterprise Development Fund provides financial support and business development services to youth-owned enterprises. And part of the business development services that we provide is incubation and mentorship of youth ideas and youth innovations. We indeed have worked in the past with a sister organization to this hospital, that is Kenyatta University, at the Chandaria Business Incubation and Innovation Center. Indeed, when Professor Mugenda was the Vice Chancellor at the university, and through that partnership, we have helped to mature innovations that are today providing solutions to some of the challenges that are facing this nation. We note with appreciation the launch of this medical innovation and accelerator hub, and we will play an active role through financing and other solutions. And we are looking forward to engaging so that we can structure interventions that we as the Youth Enterprise Fund can be able to play an active role in ensuring that the ideas we have seen and others that will come through the center bear fruits. Increasingly, we are getting applications from young people who are within the health sector, and we see now this as a new opportunity to be able to get into innovations that would provide more efficient services and probably be able to reach a wider population. We have a responsibility to support our young people because our young people have not let us down. There is a way when young people are supported, they change the way people do things. Those of you who are a bit older, you will remember people listened to music from Michael Jackson and so on. But because our young people entered that space, today people listen to local music. Our young people, when we send them to the Olympics, for instance, we are able to become number 1, 2, 3 in the entire world. So even through these innovations, if we are able to support our young people, they are able to occupy a similar position in the world if we support them. So on my behalf and on the behalf of the institution, in the presence of my boss, I want to pledge our support. We look forward to engaging so that we see what role we can play. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mutheri. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate the support of Professor Olive Mugenda, our board of directors, and I can see Madam Pauline Mshara, karibu sana. Our partners, all our partners, the management of the hospital, all our staff who work tirelessly in this facility to keep up the good name that we already have, and who have worked tirelessly to achieve the vision of KUTRH. On behalf of the hospital management, we promise to make this medical innovation and accelerator hub vibrant and relevant to healthcare in Kenya and beyond. Ladies and gentlemen, it's now my pleasure to invite our very, very active chairperson of the board of directors, Professor Olive Mugenda, to address the gathering. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. John, our chief guest, CS Joe Mushero, members of the hospital board, acting CEO, and members of hospital management, invited guests, as listed by Dr. John earlier on. And in that list, I would like to also include CEO Kutrrh, and also Dr. Kimani of Government Chemist, and also Mr. Raja Patel, Chief Manager, Crown Paints, and also Dr. Mubura, the CEO of Kiambu Hospital, and many others that maybe came later and may not able to mention them. Thank you so much for honoring our invitation. We are very, very honored. Members of staff, our both administrative and medical staff who are here, ladies and gentlemen. Let me first welcome our chief guest, CS Mushero, and all of you to this function. And thank you for joining us as we mark another important milestone in this hospital. We know, CS, you are very, very busy. I know you only have probably less than an hour for you to go to another function, so we will not keep you for long, but I want to thank you for accepting to come and officially launch this medical innovation and accelerator hub. The hospital board appreciates the great support we have received from you. CS, you remember, even when we started thinking about the hospital information system, I came to you for advice because we wanted to get the best. And I'm sure you have seen that we eventually got it, and thank you very much for your support, CS, and advice. Our chief guest, my idea, because I must say that I really kept thinking about it, and then of course sold my idea to my able members of management. So my idea of medical innovation hub was inspired by the Shadaria Innovation Hub that we started at Kenyatta University, as has been mentioned before, where we started it, and I did to make sure it doesn't go down. I don't know what's going on. Make sure it keeps going up. But we had benchmarked with the world-class innovation hubs, and this time what we decided to do is to add the word accelerator. And I was very keen. I remember Dr. Kutrrh, I remember we discussing, and I told him we must add the word accelerator, because we don't just want to innovate, but we also want to accelerate the ideas to the next level in terms of scaling up, and hence the term accelerator in the name of our innovation hub. The biggest challenge, CS, that we have with the existing innovation centers is lack of space to go once the products mature. We faced this problem at KU. We had a very successful Shadaria Innovation Center. I think it was the first in the country in a university. And we came up with brilliant ideas with very many companies, but we realized that those companies didn't have a place to go once the ideas were properly incubated. So we hope to address that issue now by then having a place where we can accelerate these ideas. And we hope that through through the government, CS, through you, and through other capital venture experts, we can have our products developed and scaled up, both locally and also globally. So my idea of this center, CS, is founded on my knowledge of huge gains that are derived from such efforts. And as Dr. Njoroge has explained, and before I even continue, I would like to acknowledge Dr. George Njoroge. I don't know why he is there. And I would like to tell this audience that I guess people don't talk about themselves, but Dr. Njoroge led a team in the US that discovered the vaccine for hepatitis C. And we are very, very honored to have him in our team. And it's not just the vaccine for hepatitis C. He also, as I think Dr. Kariuki said, he has like 100 patents in the US. I mean, that is really commendable. And I don't know why he has not been given honorary degree. I hope Kenyatta University will consider that, because that's really, we are very proud of you, Daktari, and thank you for joining us. My idea, as I said, came from benchmarking, and I actually did a bit of research before I sold the idea to my members of management. Such medical innovation centers are found in places like US. I know I checked the Boston Children's Hospital Innovation and Digital Health Accelerator, that is in Boston. In Boston, the accelerator offers consulting, technology evaluation, project management, startup strategy, and informatics related to population health and social media. So it's something that is happening elsewhere in the world, and I'm happy that this hospital will be the first one, CS, to come up with this kind of center. The other one we checked and we benchmarked with is the Innovation Studio at Children's Hospital Los Angeles. The center convenes internal and external communities to design, incubate, accelerate, and operationalize new processes and technologies that solve complex problems and transform care delivery models in pediatrics. So again, CS, this is where we are heading, that hopefully we can come up not just with products, but also with systems and processes that can improve the way we do things and we really want to do things differently. CS, we want to really do better than our public institutions and even private institutions. And I think what we are doing is what can help us get to that. The other institution that we benchmarked with CS is Miah Clinic Center for Innovation. This is an innovation within the hospital. It combines design thinking principles with the scientific method to create patient-centered healthcare delivery solutions. And our logo CS here is patient-centered, quality patient-centered care. So you can see we may be the first ones maybe in Kenya to come up with a medical innovation hub, but we are not the first one in the world. I mean, you can see all these hospitals with these innovations. The last one, CS, that we checked, and I actually bought this book, give it to members of management to read it. It's New York University Ragon Health Technology Hub. Actually, the book is called World Class, and it's talking about this hospital, which started from a very poor hospital to a world-class hospital. And they have this, as I said, health technology hub. And this is a resource for inventors within and outside the health system to share ideas. The hub connects innovators with this digital health ecosystem and provides new technologies, data science, and user-centered designs to help them bring ideas to fruition. So with those ideas, CS elsewhere, not in Kenya, but I'm sure we'll be able to learn from what they are doing and even maybe improve and come up with the first medical innovation hub for products and processes. And you said something very important, Dr. Jeroge, that it's not just for money, because I've seen Stanford, and I was talking to the CS earlier on because I think he has more experience with Stanford University, where they are making millions and millions of money. And my vision, CS, is that even in future, 50 years, 20 years, even when we are not here, this hospital will be one of the richest institutions in the country because of royalties that will be derived from products that will come. Because I'm sure with the kind of youth that we have, and CS, you are familiar because we're in that ministry, we have very good innovative youth. And if you give them the opportunity, the ideas, and the platform, and we, of course, we benefit from royalties, we could also end up not only helping them, but also making sure that this university in future will not need any government funding because we'll be having a lot of money. That is my dream, and because that money then will increase or rather improve the services. And there's so much we can do, of course, when the resources are available. So that is where we are headed as CS, and I'm happy that you are here to witness this. So even when we come to you for support, at least you know what we have in mind So we already have sponsorship packages, and we are looking for sponsors, and depending on their sponsorship, we are hoping we will get anchor accelerators, so that if, for example, a company, big companies like GE or Philips and others that would want to come here, we can give them a bit of space and they can help mentor the upcoming innovators. The way we did it in KU, CS, and I hope we can do it here, we had even rooms for business advisors, so that if a young innovator wants something, then we had these experts come and tell them, okay, this is the way you do it, or this doesn't make economic sense, or it makes economic sense. We even had other people we call distinguished mentors, and this included really very experienced business people like SK Masharia and others, and they were very willing, even though they are busy and they have made their money, they were still willing to come and actually talk to these young people, either here or in their offices. And you still follow these ideas and make sure that our people who come here are properly mentored, so they can also be the big business people in the future. So the Anchor Accelerator will help us in mentoring the incubatees who will be hosted in this hub. We hope to partner with government through UCS, and especially your ministry, to make this effort successful. When products are innovated, they will help Kenya hospitals and hospitals worldwide, thus saving resources. A lot of non-farm equipment and gadgets we are importing from outside CS, they were also innovated by people like us, and there's no reason why we can't also innovate these people so we don't have to import them from outside. So the government and your ministry will be delivering on your mandate if this effort is also successful, because I know, especially you but in particular, yes, we are very keen in youth and innovation. Consequently, the government and other partners, we are requesting for support in provision of some seed money to help the innovators develop and scale up products. A bit of seed money will go a long way in ensuring we take off successfully, even as we build as engineer has said, we eventually build the industrial park where these can be scaled up to. For the innovators, we will protect their intellectual property rights. We are in the process of hiring this particular person to do this. But meanwhile, Dr. Kutrrh is able to do that, but you get the right office, and we will get and these innovators will get their right percentage CS according to the agreement that we are going to have, so that they can also improve their quality of life and that of their families, and they also join the prestigious class of innovators. For this hospital, as I said earlier, we are going to benefit eventually from the royalties, but more importantly, we are going to benefit from the quality services from these products or services. And of course, we also take a share of that percentage because of giving the platform, but that will be properly negotiated and discussed. And I'm sure there are formulas, right? Some formulas, even your government, I'm sure CS has got some formulas we can use. And for the government, of course, we will benefit from scaled up services, because for the government, they look at the full universal healthcare, and therefore, whatever we do, if you can scale it up, it benefits the government and the citizens. And of course, the youth in the country, and I know from what I've been hearing, His Excellency talk about the youth in the country, who are very, very key, and the government is focusing on them, of course, through your ministry CS, and to have an outlet to try their innovation and improve their livelihoods and quality of life. So CS, we are targeting gadgets and equipment, medical professionals use, which are not available in Kenya and which can be made locally. We are also targeting processes and systems that can make the medical work easier. Like what Dr. Jeremy has is not a gadget, it's a system. So not only are we looking for gadgets and equipment, but also systems and processes that can help us do our work better. So we intend to give the professionals a framework to innovate these products and processes to save money, which we use a lot of foreign exchange that is used to get these gadgets from outside. Hopefully we can change that around. So, ladies and gentlemen, I will stop here for now and say that on behalf of the board of directors, some of who are here, we will continue supporting this hospital. We, as Dr. John said, we do more than an ordinary board, because this is a new hospital. So CS, we are very, very involved. We are hands-on, because we want to make sure that the vision as envisaged some years back is well delivered. So the board will continue to increase the services that we render to the public. And as the CEO has said, we have already opened our clinics, and we have been hiring doctors and nurses to manage those clinics, and they are already becoming very busy. So we are happy to serve. We are happy to see this hospital become world class. Some of us are really committed to make sure that happens. And I want to take this time to thank also the management and also the staff, both administration and also medical staff in this hospital for your hard work. We cannot make this hospital world class without your support. So I want to thank you on behalf of the board, and also thank my board members, my able board members, always available, CS, even after this we are meeting, so that we can make sure that we make these good decisions on behalf of the people of Kenya, to make sure that we have one of the best hospitals in the region. So I'll stop there, CS, and it is now my pleasure to invite you, Cabinet Secretary, Minister of ICT, Innovation and Youth Affairs, Mr. Joe Mushero, to address this gathering and officially launch the Medical Innovation and Accelerator Center. Thank you.
Asante sana. Please
let this succeed. I don't. There's so many doctors here. Am I far enough to remove my mask, or I should wear it? I can remove. That's official from the doctors. And if that doesn't work, there's a hospital next. But I mean, the innovation, I'm seeing myself in the research and innovation side. So the chairperson, Professor Olive Mogenda, and members of the board of Kenyatta University Teaching, Referral and Research Hospital, Kutrrh, Dr. Victor John, the CEO. Let me also recognize Dr. George Joroge. And really, Prof, it is great that we're not only focusing on youth, but we're bringing the wealth that we have as a country. People with so much experience, and I've seen that as a very big part. So I recognize you all with the expertise you have brought, the hospital management and staff, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is still morning. Good morning to you. It is indeed a great honor and pleasure for me to join you at the opening of the Medical Innovation and Accelerator Hub. While we have many innovation hubs in the country, this one is unique, and it is because it specifically and locally developed medical interventions that it's focusing on. And these are to focus on the challenges that we have not only here in Kenya, but also globally, so that we can begin to even export some of these technologies. I note that the hub is fully aligned with the hospital's mission of enhancing the quality of life through the provision of patient-centered and evidence-based healthcare. And I also note that the hub is consistent with the President's and government's Big Four agenda, which is hinged on accelerating innovation and entrepreneurship. Ladies and gentlemen, necessity indeed has proved to be the mother of invention, especially with the disruption of the world's healthcare systems and economies by COVID-19 pandemic. At a time where borders and trade routes were being closed and a sense of panic and despair engulfed the world, great minds in Kenya rose to develop new technologies in response to the pandemic. The country moved from relying on international manufacturers to embracing local innovations that have ensured our needs are met. Manufacturers such as Kikotech and Rivertex took up production of face masks and other PPEs for mitigating the potential crisis that we're facing. More impressively, as the demand for ventilators surged, students from your parent university, this is a Kenyatta University, developed a prototype ventilator, which I am informed is in its final trial and testing stages before deployment. Indeed, it's only 2 weeks ago that the same group of students were feted by the United Nations by being awarded the UN Kenya Persons of the Year Award as the guest of honor for that, and I actually gave them the prize. And it was great to see young, enterprising men and women who really have a passion for innovation and growth. And this again is what's coming out of our universities, and in this case from KU. And I laud them for this remarkable feat that they have achieved. As a ministry, we recognize the critical role played by science and technology and innovation. One of the foundations of Kenya's Vision 2030 is wealth creation and building of human capital required for our country's transition to a knowledge-based and knowledge-driven economy. Research and development has proven to be critical in accelerating economic growth in all emerging economies globally. Innovations are themselves a precursor to wealth creation. No society can gain social cohesion if some members continue living in abject poverty. For this reason, the government has supported innovators through policy and funding, especially the vulnerable groups.
The innovations are a testament that Kenyans are hardworking and resourceful individuals with a strong and resolute work ethic. The tour evoked memories of the recent Innovation Symposium that was graced by His Excellency the President at Manyani in Taita Taveta County. During that symposium, we witnessed phenomenal innovations, conceptualized, built, and developed by young Kenyans, all aimed at addressing the needs within our country. Indeed, this shows that as a country, we can innovate and drive our growth by leveraging the potential that lies with our local human capital. Instead of being importers of technology solutions, we now have our footing firmly in place to grow our technology and export it globally. Let me say the innovations that we have seen, and especially those that we saw in Manyani, they go straight to some of our biggest challenges. The young people there, for instance, have mapped the whole country. The maps we were using before, the newest maps, were 1972. So you can imagine all the development that had been done. You're referring to 1972 maps. I'm happy to say that we had done some work on maps when I was at Google. We had students from JKUAT who came and we began to map the continent. I think when we started in 2007, Nairobi had two roads. There was Uhuru Highway, which passed through State House, and I think there was another one, Mombasa Road. But after the students were through with the whole program, we had very rich maps, which is why you see companies like Uber are able to operate global and all that using the mapping. But we now have our own homegrown maps that will rival even Google and other maps that show the different layers of different services that are provided within the country, that the counties can use for revenue management, that they can use for planning, and for many, many things, all these different layers. So I'm very pleased that today we are at a place where we can now do the same level of innovations in the healthcare sector. And Prof, other than making money and the innovations and being able to export them, you know, a healthy nation is one of the greatest assets that we can have. And I would say that is another big addition that I've seen that this hospital is able to provide for this country. That through the work that is going on, and very impressive. I mean, I came here when the launch was happening, we came with the president, and you know, there's so many buildings. And I was saying earlier that, you know, many times people build things, then they rest, and then they take time to actually start. I'm very impressed with the board and the management. You've been able to not only launch, but you've actually already begun to utilize. And it's an open secret that if you have COVID, this is the place you should come to. If you don't get here, then, and I'm not speaking officially, that is just rumors that are out there. Any hospital is a good place to go for treatment. So these innovations that we're seeing here are great innovations. For example, there's the innovation of calorie tracking systems. There's the new exercise modules that will boost reduction of lifestyle diseases. We have seen the logistics innovation that has been discussed. There's also innovation I've seen to do with the management of oxygen or gas within the hospitals. All this will drastically improve the early detection of conditions, whether it is the reduction of oxygen or when the lifestyle diseases are coming, and you can be able to take care of them. We've seen locally assembled technologies which will not only increase access, but also reduce the cost of healthcare provision. And so this hub and accelerator will continue to significantly grow the vision that the country has. It is for this reason that I congratulate Kenyatta University Teaching and Referral Hospital